I want to start today by asking you to do something a little weird.
Okay.
I want you to think about the last time you walked through airport security. You know that feeling.
Oh, I know.
You haven't done anything wrong, you aren't carrying anything illegal, but the moment you see that uniform, your heart rate just spikes.
Yeah.
You straighten your posture, you put on a specific face, a face that says, I am calm, I am a non-threat, I am just a normal person going on vacation.
It's the please don't look at me face. We all have it.
Right.
Yeah.
And why do we do that? Because we know on some primal level that we're being watched. We are performing innocence.
Mm-hmm.
Now, take that feeling, that low-level hum of anxiety, and just crank it up to a life or death frequency.
Yeah.
That is what we are unpacking today.
I see where you're going with this.
We're diving into a 2026 collection of novellas called What We Carry Forward by the author Ethel.
And this is a heavy one. We're not just talking about social awkwardness here. We're talking about survival. Ethel has woven together 4 stories that span from Auschwitz in the 1940s to a near-future India, passing through the modern U.S. immigration system, and a small church in Alabama. It's a massive scope.
It is, but the thread connecting them is incredibly specific. It's about masks. Not the physical kind, but the behavioral ones.
Well, way systems of power force us to act a certain way just to survive the day.
And the really scary question the book asks is, what happens when the performance fails? What happens when you sneeze when you're supposed to be silent?
Or when you smudge your makeup when you're supposed to look perfect. The mission of this deep dive is to look at the psychology of that performance.
Right.
You want to understand the cost of constantly translating yourself into a version that the world accepts.
And just a quick tone check before we get into the weeds. These stories deal with genocide, undocumented life, religious trauma, and political instability.
Yeah, it's a lot.
We aren't here to debate the politics of these settings. We're here to look at the human mechanisms within them. We're looking at the characters. Rivka, Maria, Caleb, and Arjun.
So let's get into it. The first novella, The Face That Carries Forward, is probably the most visceral.
It is.
It alternates between Rivka, a prisoner in Auschwitz, and Maria, an undocumented immigrant in the contemporary U.S.
And I'll be honest, when I first started reading, I was worried. Comparing anything to the Holocaust is a minefield. It usually feels, cheap or exploitative.
Absolutely. It's a dangerous comparison to make. But Ethel is very careful here. The author isn't equating the suffering. Obviously, the industrial slaughter of Auschwitz is singular.
Sure.
But the book is comparing the internal coping mechanisms. It's looking at how the body reacts to the threat of erasure.
And it focuses specifically on the foes.
Hmm.
Let's talk about Rivka. She's in the selection line. She's starving, terrified, and she knows that sick equals dead.
Right.
So she develops this ritual. She bites her lower lip. Hard.
This detail kept me up at night. She bites it until it stings, until the blood rushes to the surface, just to make it look redder, to look alive. She pinches her cheeks until they bruise. The text calls it a temporary form of mercy. Think about the psychology of that. You are inflicting pain on yourself to prove to a guard that you are still useful enough to be exploited for labor.
It's performative vitality. She has to act healthy while her body is literally shutting down.
Exactly. And then we flip to Maria in the U.S.
Right.
She's not in a camp. She's in an apartment. She's getting ready for work. But the ritual is almost identical. She's putting on makeup, but not for vanity.
No.
She's using concealer to hide the dark circles under her eyes.
Because, as the book says, tiredness could resemble guilt. That is such a profound insight into the immigrant experience.
It really is.
When you are undocumented, you don't have the luxury of looking exhausted. Exhaustion invites questions. Why do you look like that? Have you been running? Are you stressed?
And questions lead to IDs, and IDs lead to deportation.
It's this idea of the good immigrant mask. You have to look fresh, unbothered, and happy. Maria calls it translating.
I love that word for it.
She's not lying about who she is. She's translating her humanity into a language the system understands. The system understands productive worker.
It doesn't understand terrified mother.
No.
Which is a form of labor in itself, isn't it? Sociologists call this administrative burden or cognitive load.
That makes sense.
Maria is constantly counter-signaling against a presumption of guilt. I mean, imagine having to prove with every facial expression that you aren't a criminal. That is an exhausting amount of mental real estate to occupy 247.
And here's where the tension snaps. You can't control your body forever. The body's honest even if the mind is calculating.
Right.
Rivka bites her lip too hard one day and it splits open. Now she has a cut, a wound, And in her world, a wound isn't just an injury, it's a death sentence. It's a flaw.
So she has to improvise. She uses soot from a stove mixed with her own saliva to paint over the cut to turn it into a shadow. It's desperate.
And Maria has a parallel moment that is just as terrifying in a modern context. She hears a rumor about a raid. She's driving. Panic sets in. She rubs her eyes. Later, there's a knock at the door. It is immigration enforcement. She checks the mirror and sees she's smudged her mascara. It looks like she's been crying. It looks like guilt.
The line there is, fear became visible.
Yes.
That's the terror of the performance. One slip, one cough, one smudge, and the reality breaks through. And the system pounces on reality.
And speaking of the system pouncing, this was the part that made me want to throw the book across the room. The rules change. Just when Rivka and Maria master the performance, the authority figures shift the goalposts.
That is the nature of totalitarian or bureaucratic power. It's arbitrary. In Rivka's timeline, a new guard arrives with a clipboard.
The clipboard.
He doesn't care about the momentary flush of the cheeks. He tracks consistency over weeks. Suddenly, looking too healthy becomes suspicious because it suggests you aren't working hard enough or you're stealing rations.
So the mask that saved you yesterday?
Steals you today.
And for Maria, it's the digital audit. She's perfected the calm face, but then the warehouse brings in facial recognition and database cross-referencing. Her face doesn't matter anymore.
The algorithm doesn't care if she looks tired or fresh. It just sees data.
Which forces a fascinating pivot in the story.
It does.
Individual performance stops working. You can't outact a database. So they have to shift to alliance.
This was a beautiful moment. Rivka physically grabs her friend Hannah during an inspection to hold her upright. It's incredibly dangerous.
Right.
If Hannah falls, they both go, but she refuses to let go. And in the future timeline, Maria joins these walking groups to the bus stop.
Right.
Standing together did not look like defiance. It looked like an inconvenience. I loved that distinction.
That's okay.
When you are alone, you are a target. When you are a group, you are a demographic. You are traffic. It shifts the dynamic from hiding from the power to surviving despite the power.
It's the move from invisibility to presence. I am here, and I am not alone. Which, honestly, is the perfect bridge to the second story between the Pews and the truth.
Okay, yeah.
Because if Rivka and Maria are performing with their bodies, our next protagonist, Caleb, is performing with his soul.
And I think Caleb's performance is going to feel uncomfortable for a lot of people who grew up in tight-knit communities. We're in Whitfield County, Alabama, New Covenant Fellowship.
Right.
Caleb is 17, gay, and terrified.
He has mastered the art of the Sunday best. And I don't just mean the clothes. I mean, we've all been there, right?
Yeah.
Sitting in a scratchy shirt, smiling at someone you fundamentally disagree with.
Yeah.
Terrified that if you speak your mind, the whole dinner party explodes. But for Caleb, it's not a dinner party. It's his entire existence.
The text describes his silence as armor. He knows exactly how to sit in that third pew. He knows when to say amen. He knows how to modulate his voice so it doesn't sound too soft.
He is performing neutrality. He's trying to be a blank slate so that no one projects sin onto him.
That concept of performing neutrality is so draining. It's actually harder than having an opinion because it requires constant self-monitoring.
You have to be a ghost in your own life.
Exactly. But the catalyst here is unexpected. It's Pastor Daniel. Caleb is working in the church office, and the pressure just becomes too much. He confesses.
He says, I think I like boys.
And he's waiting for the lightning bolt. He's waiting for the sermon on hellfire.
But he doesn't get it. And this is the twist that hooks you. Pastor Daniel doesn't yell.
No.
He quietly closes the door and says, I won't lie to you in this room.
Uh-huh.
He admits that he struggles with the same feeling.
This is huge. The authority figure, the man who represents the very system Caleb fears, is also wearing a mask.
Wow.
They are both performing. It creates this secret bond, this pocket of reality, in a world of performance.
But then Pastor Daniel does something reckless. He decides to stop performing. He preaches a sermon called Recognizing Christ. And he argues that Jesus usually looked like the people society rejected. He says, if your faith only works when people look like you, then your faith is too small.
He's trying to change the system from the inside. He's trying to widen the parameters of the performance.
But the system, the congregation reacts instantly.
And they don't react with theology, they react with suspicion.
The line that gave me chills was the congregation's feedback. Vague sermons are dangerous.
That is such a loaded phrase. Vague sermons are dangerous, it means. We know what you are hinting at, and we don't like it.
Right.
People love certainty. Dogma is a comfortable performance. Ambiguity feels like a threat to the order. By refusing to condemn, the pastor is signaling that he might be one of them.
And Caleb gets caught in the blast radius. His father confronts him. And Caleb, emboldened by the pastor, finally drops the armor. He tells the truth. And his father says,
Not the son I raised.
ugh, that is the cost of dropping the mask. You lose the protection of the role. Caleb loses his home. He is kicked out. But, and this is the vital part, the story doesn't frame this as a tragedy. It frames it as a birth.
Yeah, his friend Evan picks him up in a beat-up car. And Caleb has this realization, the world didn't end. The roof didn't cave in.
He's homeless, yes. But for the first time in 17 years, he isn't holding his breath.
He stops translating himself. He starts speaking his native language. Faith, he realizes, doesn't require erasure.
Bro.
And Pastor Daniel steps down to start something messier but truer. It suggests that sometimes you have to burn the theater down to actually live.
Which brings us to the final story, the distance between two futures. And I'll be honest, at first I felt like this one had lower stakes.
Right.
We're moving from Auschwitz and deportation and homelessness
Yeah.
to a student deciding on a college.
I thought the same thing initially, but then I realized this is the story that most closely mirrors the modern intellectual anxiety a lot of us feel.
Okay.
We're with Arjun in a near-future India. He's brilliant. He gets an acceptance letter to a prestigious U.S. university, the golden ticket.
But the world is unstable. The U.S. in this story has become politically volatile. Ideological imbalance, visa restrictions, intense surveillance of foreigners.
Right. And Arjun's father, Ramesh, is dead set against him going.
And Ramesh isn't just being a controlling dad. He has a point. He argues that Arjun is trading one set of chains for another.
Yeah.
In India, Arjun is stifled by bureaucracy, hierarchy, and family expectations. But in the U.S., he would be a conditional guest.
He would be one paperwork error away from erasure.
Arjun makes this map of warnings. He realizes his father is right. The U.S. offers academic freedom, but his physical presence is precarious.
While India offers physical security, he has roots, but his mind feels trapped.
It's the paralysis of choice. In both places, he has to perform. In India, he performs the obedient son.
And in the U.S., he would have to perform the good, non-threatening immigrant.
The turning point is when he goes to his academic advisor. And the advisor says something that I think is the thesis statement for the entire book.
What is...
He asks Arjun, the question isn't which place is perfect. The question is, where will disagreement cost you less?
Where will disagreement cost you less? Wow, that stops you in your tracks.
It does.
It reframes freedom completely. Freedom isn't the absence of rules or masks. It's choosing your constraints. It's choosing which battle you are willing to fight every day.
Right. Arjun realizes that staying in India means the cost of disagreement is silence. He has to shut up to fit in.
But in the U.S., the cost is instability. He might get kicked out.
And he decides that he's willing to pay the price of instability if it means he gets to think freely.
He chooses the mask he can live with. It's a very mature, very modern form of survival.
Yeah.
It's not about escaping the system. It's about negotiating your terms with it.
So when we step back and look at Rivka, Maria, Caleb, and Arjun together, what is the pattern? We have physical performance, spiritual performance, and intellectual performance. Where does it leave us?
I think the trajectory is from performance to presence. Look at where they start. Hiding, biting lips, staying silent. Look at where they end. Holding hands, driving away in a car with a friend, getting on a plane.
They all move from a place of concealment to a place of visibility.
Right. But visibility has a cost. That's what the book doesn't shy away from.
Visibility gets you audits. It gets you disowned. It gets you scrutinized.
True. But the alternative is disappearing. There's a scene near the end of the book in a flash forward where an older Rivka is speaking to a group of students.
Oh, I remember this.
She says, "Survival is not what happened to me. It is what I chose to carry."
What I chose to carry. I love that.
It distinguishes between the trauma, which was forced on her, and the response, which is hers. She teaches that the antidote to trauma is attention.
Can you unpack that? Attention.
It means noticing when you are biting your lip. Noticing when you are using your customer service voice to appease a bully. Noticing when you are agreeing with the sermon you hate just to keep the peace. Once you notice the mask, you can decide if you still want to wear it.
It's about becoming a witness to your own life, rather than just an actor in it.
Precisely. And that connects back to the echo mentioned in the outro. The book suggests that these survival strategies don't just die with the people who use them.
We inherit them.
We do.
Oh, absolutely. I got myself doing this the other day. I was in a meeting and I completely disagreed with the plan. But I just sat there, nodding, smiling.
And you realize
I'm doing the Sunday best.
Yeah.
I'm doing the good immigrant. I'm performing safety.
we all do. We inherit the silence of our parents. We carry forward the masks they wore to keep us safe. The challenge what we carry forward poses is, are those masks still serving us?
Or are they just suffocating us now?
Exactly.
That is the question I want to leave you with today. And I want you to really sit with it. Where in your life are you performing neutrality or calmness because you feel unsafe?
Where are you biting your lip until it bleeds, metaphorically speaking?
And the scarier follow-up. What would happen if you stopped?
It might be messy. You might lose your spot in the pew. You might get a weird look from the boss.
But as Kaylin found out, the roof might not cave in. You might just find out who you actually are.
And that is worth the risk.
What We Carry Forward by Ethel. It is a tough read, I won't lie. It demands a lot from you, but it gives back even more. Go check it out.
Definitely.
Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Always a pleasure.
See you next time. Stay real.